Wasn't on.
There we go. Okay. Yep, now we're cooking with gas. Now let me get those filters on there. Maybe. Perhaps. There we go. Filters. Edit filters. Add filter. Noise suppression. Add. Okay, I think we're good now. We test the stream audio. Maybe. Yes. All right. Look at us functioning. Also, I did this before when on camera, obviously, but I'm gonna test out your theory about the Modelo, see if pouring it into a glass helps a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Mm. Definitely already less fizzy, which is good. Mm. Oh man, yeah, there's just something aesthetically pleasing about a beer in a pint glass. I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those things. Oh man. So sunglasses, I need that. You can't see my eyes. It's not allowed. You don't know who I am. I'm a mystery, an enigma. Oh man. We got two concurrent viewers. We got some folks in the chat. Let me reblog live post.
I just found the perfect GIF.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Haha. Yes. uh, so I do, of course, want
I
to.
miss Mighty Boosh so much.
Yeah. I do want to say for everybody watching that this episode title was, excuse me, well, so much for pouring into a glass to help with whatever. I'm just a bitch, I guess.
You have to get the head out of it like as you pour. Like you do it in a 2-step pour, and just I'll show you sometime.
Okay, yeah, one of these days. I did want to mention that you came up with this episode title, "Snap Back to Reality." There was a chance, I guess, that we were not going to have this issue going into this week and having this podcast episode, but that would require the government to function normally or function at all, which, again, we have to point out that, like, do you feel like your life has been significantly affected by the government shutdown in any capacity?
So, there's definitely things adjacent to my life that are like starting to show up as issues. Like, I like to go hike or use public lands regularly, and
Mm,
my park pass expired, and I don't. It's one of those things like I don't mind paying a fee to like you know
yeah.
have access to national parks and keep the riffraff out and stuff like that. And I can't like renew. I'm also like slightly worried like they're gonna give me a ticket for parking in like a national forest lot, and it's
Mm.
like, okay, I can't renew my pass at the office because the office is closed. But like, are you guys also like just going out and like writing citations still? Like, I'm not sure because
They
I
got to
don't.
get revenue in some way, man. I mean, they're not getting
Yeah, I'm
paid,
like,
so
so I'm like, that's one thing. Like being adjacent to academia, like people with grants and
ooh,
budgets and
okay,
like
yeah.
all that stuff. Like it's people are starting to run out of money in different areas for sure. Um, like different people traveling. Like think about ATC. Like we might be like days and or maybe weeks, but like at some point they're just going to stop showing up, right?
I
Like
mean,
they
they're not going to work for free. They shouldn't be expected to work for free. That's ridiculous. I,
no.
I did make the joke in our Discord server, the Alter Podcast one on Tumblr. I was like, oh, what do you need to control air traffic for? Huh? so you can safely direct other men to land in proximity next to you, so you can kiss them. Gay. But Cybersmith actually posted something in the general chat on the Alter podcast, and essentially he he's challenging the notion that ATC is a necessity. Maybe let's see. Maybe the oligarchs who want to drown government can start paying air traffic control salaries. Air traffic control is more important than any marine. Blah blah blah. Cybersmith justify that assertion. Air traffic controllers do not enable flight, they artificially restrict it. If there were no air traffic controllers to tell aircraft when they were and were not allowed to land, do you think mankind would essentially just revert to a two-dimensional logistics paradigm and abandon manned flight altogether? No. Aircraft, or rather their pilots, would decide for themselves where and when to land and take off. There would be some friction at first, perhaps, but people who are capable of organizing without a cabal of tyrant busybodies micromanaging their lives centrally. Maybe they would establish peer-to-peer protocols like with Bluetooth, or maybe it would become something totally different. Why do you have so little
Air
faith in
traffic
pilots?
control. It's like Bluetooth, bro.
It's Bluetooth, bro.
Here's where I'm at. Is why isn't it just run by like
The local
the
airports
airport
privately.
privately? Like why does it have to be a federal position? Like your job should be funded out of like the local airport should just have it as a salaried position out of their
Yeah.
own pocket, like and the
Well,
you know,
a
port
lot.
fees basically from landing and taking off there would pay for it
I mean, a
easily.
lot of people think like they still think of like a movie maybe from like the 70s or 80s, like Die Hard or something like that, where there's like a tower at the airport and the ATC controllers. That's redundant. The pin machine, the pin numbers, the ATCs are in like the tower and they're directly like handling traffic for that airport. These days, that's usually not actually the case. Like, there's like a facility somewhere, and they'll usually be handling like several different airports in their region. This My buddy works at Salt Lake International, or is trying not to anymore, but he kind of learned a little bit more about it. It also came up a little bit after Charlie Kirk got murdered because there was talk of like a private jet that like disappeared from radar allegedly like after it left Provo Airport, and it didn't so much disappear from radar as it transferred from like one ATC zone to another
Yeah.
because the area over like southeast Utah and southwest Colorado, like the Four Corners, essentially, especially like New Mexico-ish, it's kind of like a dead zone. Like they
Mhm.
kind of have an idea where you are and where you're going to be based on your airspeed relative to where you were at the time. But outside of that, like it's not the best coverage out there, and that's the direction it went in. But that's also like a major air traffic line. Like if you're flying from Salt Lake or Provo Airport to Albuquerque or anywhere in West Texas or anywhere in East Texas, really, or Arizona, like you're gonna go through there. So like it's just one of those things. And people ran wild with it. They're like, "Oh, it was the assassin, the real assassin's plane flying back to wherever, whatever." And it's just like, no. And like he kind of explained how like ATC is set up, but like, yeah, they're not like actually at airports anymore. There's a facility somewhere, undisclosed for the most part, where they go and they work and they cover several different airports. But no, they should be back in the fucking tower at the airport, just like Die Hard or Airplane, whatever movie you want to pick.
We're going to hire Liam Neeson because he's our
Yes,
Leslie Nelson stand-in now, and he's gonna run personally all of the air traffic control from
you're
the
gonna
tower.
you're gonna land all you're gonna direct all these aircraft yourself. Surely you can't be serious. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. That's how it's gonna go. It's gonna work perfectly.
Really, really special.
Really special.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like we have multiple layers of government, and there's state and local governments that just unless you're like you really have no local revenue and like your entire state is just run off of like a sham of like moving like paper cups of like federal money around to
Oh,
make things happen. Like,
like New Mexico.
yeah.
There's no like the second I'm in New Mexico, I'm just like I don't understand how this state generates a profit enough to be a state. Like this is just it's like a zone in between Texas and Arizona. That Texas and Arizona are just like, well, we don't really want to deal with this because there's nothing fucking out here except alcoholic Indians. So we'll call it New Mexico, and we'll make
And a
up
bunch of hippies
and a
that live
bunch of
in
hippies.
the desert
Exactly, yeah. And you have like,
do like basket weaving and buy pottery.
and like
You
you've got
can't
out.
sustain an economy off of basket
No,
weaving and pottery, it
you can't.
seems.
But we know how where all the people who got degrees in basket weaving went. They went to fucking New Mexico. Dead ass. Like when I was driving through, especially the res part of New Mexico, like I've driven through some pretty sketch neighborhoods. The place I grew up in, New York, Schenectady, pretty sketch in some places, really high crime rates. I've driven through some shady parts of New York City accidentally once. I accidentally got dropped into fucking, oh my god, it was probably like the Bronx, and I was like just surrounded by like tenements and shit. And I was like, oh, I did not take the right exit. I wanted to be in Manhattan. This is not where I want to be at all. I've driven through like parts of Chicago. I've driven through fucking LA. There was like, I say there are parts of Salt Lake that are a little shady. I'd say the worst part of Salt Lake is like a decent place in like Chicago or LA or like some major place. Miami, I've been to fucking Miami. Miami's like its own fucking breed of weird. I have never felt more uncomfortable than when I was driving through the res in basically also part of Arizona, but mostly in New Mexico. It was like the most depressing and also like weirdly hostile feeling I've ever had. Like the land itself was like, you don't belong here. Keep moving, white boy. I'm just like, okay, all right. I'm not even gonna stop for gas. I got a full tank. Just please, please. I don't want the Wendigo to get me. I don't want it to eat my ass. Please. And like one of my friends who like she drives through the fucking res a lot, and she's like, yeah, if you see anybody walking along the side of the road, two things: one, don't ever pick up hitchhikers. And I was like, okay, I don't do that, sure. And two, slow down and give them a berth, because there's a pretty good chance that they're going to try to throw themselves in front of your truck for insurance money. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind. And sure enough, like, not to stereotype this dude, but I was on the res, and there's some native dude walking along the road, probably in his 50s, little beat down, denim jacket, denim pants. And he sees me driving up, and he looks at me, and I can tell he's just thinking for a sec. And I'm just like, nope. And like, there's nobody else coming. I slow down to like 20, and I pull into the opposite lane and just go around him. And I'm just like, all right, la la la, moving on. So yeah, like if you how did we get into? Oh, New Mexico is not a real economic state because it's huts
Well, it
and
goes to my
basket weaving.
post about what was it, SNAP usage by congressional district,
Yeah,
which I don't know if we want to put it on screen or something like
we
that, or
will.
we can
But
just quote it.
first, hang on.
But
Before we get into this,
you know,
let's do the intro because this is beaten potatoes of the episode, and we're like 12 minutes in. So I'm going to do the intro, and here's the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Altar, episode 191? 191. Snap back to reality, where, of course, we have no snap, and this is reality now. So what we're looking at the moment is households participating in SNAP by U.S. Congressional House District. Whoa! So a lot of this is what you'd expect. Like, you've got poor whites in Appalachia, you've got the South, which, you know, and then New Mexico is just purple.
so yeah, if you weren't aware, yeah, like
Yeah.
you could kind of see where it is, and it's like,
Also, I just
also
want
the
to.
gerrymandered districts in like Illinois
Oh
are
my god, that's
hilarious.
so bad. Well, Supreme Court's going to have a time with that when they repeal part of the Voting Rights Act.
That's not really an Illinois thing. That's like specifically like for the South. Like
Oh, you're
you're like
right. That's not in Illinois. Yeah.
the VRA only applies to former Confederate states,
That's
and
so
it's
wild.
basically it like I didn't realize this, but it's basically like having this like Republic Srpska like shared like demanded representation proportionality out of former Confederate states that like you'd think only existed in like former Yugoslavia, like
But no,
quasi failed states.
here we
But
are.
like, here we are. All right.
Welcome to Tennessee.
Um,
I
so
also would like
anyways,
to point out that if anywhere of your state ranks higher than 10%, your state is not white. Just putting that out there. So Wyoming passes, Utah passes, Idaho passes, Montana passes, North and South Dakota pass, Nebraska passes.
to be fair, this is just another version of the map,
The
but
map, yeah.
I mean, West Virginia is obviously a big exception to this.
The Burger Freedom Eagle statistics map, essentially.
Yeah. Also, upstate Maine, I would not expect to be 17%, but what do you know?
That I feel like that's the one exception to the rule I just mentioned, because Maine obviously is very like overwhelmingly white. So is like Vermont and New Hampshire, which we got 6% for New Hampshire, and Vermont is 11% ish, maybe something like that. Yeah, New York being high does not surprise me. Upstate New York, actually, no, upstate New York having more SNAP usage than New York City also does not surprise me, just because.
That like 19% is like right
Yeah,
outside of Buffalo, basically. And
man, like that this whole belt that just goes like from like middle, like upstate New York down to West Pennsylvania, down to West Virginia, down to Kentucky. Like that's the fucking Rust Belt right there, man. A little bit of East Ohio. That's just where manufacturing used to be and where opioids now rule supreme. That's what that is.
Well, yeah, it's a sad like map of like this is where I mean, you could literally look like Western Pennsylvania used to be the richest place on earth,
Yeah,
like places like and stuff like that, and now it's just like, yeah, 1 in 20 people almost, or 1 in 8 people are on SNAP, and it's
insane.
like that's your country and deindustrialization, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Um,
But just New Mexico is just wow.
oh, so wait, we weren't done with that map. I started to
No, you're
scroll.
good.
Um, any
Squirrel.
any other notes on so I think if you are in any area that is beyond like a cream
Mm-hmm.
color,
10.
you need to carry at the grocery
You
store.
absolutely need to.
Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you were already probably on that wavelength.
Yeah,
But
like you're carrying everywhere. You're carrying in the post office. You're carrying at church. You're carrying at the grocery store. You are carrying probably like at home. You just have something ready nearby. Like you're never more than 10 feet away from a gun. That's
you're
how
you're
that's how
just
we
like
live.
you're like a taxi driver. You just got like you know ankle stuff. You got things duct taped to the inside of your thigh. I don't know.
You're ready to go, man. You're loaded for bear. All right. So yeah. So
All right, are we good with the map?
we're good with the map. Let me take
Okay, okay,
streaming
okay.
down here. So yeah, like, and of course you have like all of these videos on TikTok right now, and like I've seen a couple on Instagram where people are just openly like, well, if we're not getting our SNAP benefits, we're just going to start robbing people and robbing grocery stores. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, this is actually isn't helping your case here. Just so you know. And there, of course, like you've got like a couple of people. I've seen like at least one post on Tumblr where it's just like, if you see someone stealing food in November because Snap cut, no, you didn't. And it's just like, like if I legitimately see like, I was about to say like a mom with 4 kids, and I'm just like, well, then we're just like aiding and abetting single motherhood. So I don't really think there's a but here. Like, I do agree. I have actually been donating to like my local church runs a food pantry. I've been donating to them. I'll probably donate extra like in November just to help with that. Not that that's, me sending money isn't going to fix the problem, but that is like, if you want to help, donating to private food banks, donating to your local churches that run food banks or food drives, your local food pantries or kitchens that are like, even if they're, secular or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not a bad idea, especially like during the holidays. It's usually a good time to do it too. But I really have to question the logic behind the Democratic Party. Not that like, Democrats' logic, blah blah blah. The idea that like if you continuously vote to keep the government shut down, and now we're getting to the point where EBT and SNAP benefits are not going to go out because of this. The idea that this will somehow hurt Trump or Republicans in the midterms next year might actually have held water if multiple major talking heads on the Democratic Party didn't come out and expressly state that that's what they're doing. Like, I'd have to look up the quotes, but one individual was like, "This is the only leverage we have." I think Chuck Schumer literally came out and said, "Yeah, we're doing this to like this. This is ideally supposed to hurt Trump and the Republicans in the midterms." I really
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out because like the Republicans control all three branches of
yeah.
government at this point, and they control the Senate. But
They don't control enough.
Based on budget rules, they need 60 votes
Mm.
to pass a budget, and they were 54 to 45. So I guess one person didn't vote.
Right now, I know for sure Rand Paul is one of the individuals who's like voting to like keep the government closed, which probably doing it for more libertarian reasons, which I can approve of. Um, but yeah, like, what were you gonna say?
Well, this might be like the catalyst to like finally pass individual appropriations bills, where because that used to be a thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it hasn't been for 15 years, but it used to be a thing that like they passed 12 different appropriations bills for each department of government individually, saying, "Oh, we want to fund this." This is kind of how it's supposed to work, but we've just been in continuing resolution land since 2008 or something stupid like that,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, if they just brought individual appropriations bills to like open like the necessary parts of government that people actually care about, and then
Mm-hmm.
like they would have a debate about X or Y or Z. But like the thing is like, oh, the incentive is set up that if we can't get exactly or like if we bundle everything together, we can get some of what we want each side,
Mm-hmm.
as long as we hold like the entire budget hostage instead of doing the individual appropriations bills, which always lands like basically getting this 80-20 like happiness thing, whereas like now like a 5% of the government can just like hold the rest of the government hostage,
Yeah.
which is like good in a sense if they had like worthy principles about it, but obviously it's like
No.
all
Yeah.
stupid stuff.
It's all stupid stuff. And so, just want to go to the comments real quick. Death Chilada says, "Yeah, if someone wants to mug me because their benefits are cut all they're getting is some HSTs valued at 70 cents per." And yeah, absolutely. I saw there's a statistic floating around, and like, um, guy I follow, you might know of him too, is 10D Defender is his Tumblr username. It's in the gun community, but he blogged some post. He was kind of getting into it with somebody. He was like, every dollar spent on food stamps or EBT generates like $1.80 in profit for local. And that's the soundbite I've seen flying around. Like, I don't remember who said it originally, but now it's just endlessly quoted over the past couple of
I
days.
think it was some senator basically
I
like
think
saying
so.
it. Yeah.
And like it's possible there could be some like there could be some hard math there that actually proves that. I haven't seen the logical framework behind that or how that study was conducted, admittedly. It could be true, it might not be. But yeah, exactly. Like, well, we get the $1.80 in revenue, or if you really want to throw down, we have HSTs valued at 70 cents a round. The HSTs are cheaper. So, like, that's a more cost-effective solution, arguably, than either spending the dollar or waiting for the $1.80 in profit. So, yeah. Also,
Well, these what they're saying is like this is the Dane Gold, right? Like
mhm,
that's when they go on TikTok and say like there will be violence. They're like, okay, so this is Dane Gold. This
yeah.
we're paying you not to have violence.
This literally, like, I feel like we've had this conversation about other benefits before. Like, essentially, it's just bribing people to not commit crime, and like after a certain point, it's like, admittedly, there are a lot of people who are on food stamps who aren't on food stamps forever. Like it's a temporary thing
Yeah.
because they're going through a rough patch. It happens, man. But like there are people who are also they have been on food stamps or SNAP or EBT or whatever the hell you want to call it for years. And they just structure their life around receiving benefits from the government and they have no plans to get off and this is just how they live. And I've seen videos of people calling other people out and being like, "Yeah, the other reason they're super pissed about this is because they'll get $2,000 in food stamps and they'll go to a corner store and they'll sell their food stamps for like $1,000 or something like that. They'll
Mhm.
just, even though it's not an equal exchange, they just want cash, which definitely happens more often than people think. When I
Yeah.
was, in upstate New York, for example, I would go into countless bodegas, as you would call them, and that was happening. And I didn't give a shit because A, I was like 20, it wasn't my fucking business. B, I was a white boy in the fucking hood, so you can't do that. Oh shit, what happened to Ben? Well, he got into it with some dude in a bodega, and they took him out back and hit him with pipes for an hour, and then took his shoes. So that's what would happen to me if I tried to say anything. Um, there's also an argument to be had. I really don't know to what degree this affects this, but I have seen people making the argument, probably some jokingly, that if SNAP and EBT goes, there will actually probably be like a reduction in food prices, which I don't.
Oh, yeah. The I could see it because you've got this like built-in sustained demand where they just don't care what things cost, and it's
Mhm.
like, you know what? Like, if there there's an argument to be said, like, if we're going to be giving free money
Mhm.
for like, a catch-all grocery thing, like there should be price uh fixing, like set profit margins on like items. Like places could not be selling like a Coke for 350
Yeah.
a 12-ounce can, and that's valid for EBT because it's
Mhm.
it's like clearly like that corner store is making so much money off of that exchange, and like the person doesn't care that they're paying 350 for a
It's not their
Coke,
money.
right?
They get more money every month for free from the government. Why should they give a shit? Um, that's another thing to consider too. Like if you think about the amount of money that we put into EBT and SNAP benefits and how much of that money just winds up going to like major food conglomerates, and 90% of what they pump out is
Well,
industrial processed garbage that poisons
it's just
people.
waste. Yeah, it's
And
just
it's,
byproduct waste from corn silos,
yeah.
basically.
Do you remember when too they were talking about where like I think this year is when they did it, when they removed people's ability to buy like soda and shit with EBT, and there was this whole outcry about like, it's nobody's business when I use my EBT on, and it's like, well, here's the thing: if you're also one of the people who are arguing that the government should say, I don't know, be in charge of your healthcare, it does actually become the government's business what you consume. So the government, if they are going to be funding your healthcare, which if you're getting food stamps and SNAP, you are probably getting
You
some sort of subsidies as far as
almost
that goes.
100%.
Almost
Like
100%.
EPA subsidies are
Yeah.
way more generous than food stamps. One of the things I was going to say is like food stamps in a big respect are actually like not generous enough because like I know of people in a situation where it's like I wish that they like were eligible for it,
Hmm.
and like they can't get it because they just make a couple $1,000s too much for how big their household is, right? And you're
Hmm.
like, it's just like this total cliff for the middle class, basically, where they like, man, I wish, like, I get if I got $2,000 a month and like, free food, I only spend like $700 a month on food to
Yeah.
begin with,
Exactly.
and it's like, for a household of two or something like that. Like I don't know how the benefits would break down, but it's like that's a real calculation like you have to make is like, oh, am I gonna make, or do I want to make more than this much money, like
Hmm.
actually get a full-time job where I'm gonna lose like it's just an immediate cliff where it drops off, where like why can't we just like give them like a quarter benefit
You know
or
what that
something like
reminds
that?
me of? Did you ever see the movie? It came out a while ago, Million Dollar Baby.
I didn't.
So
I
Clint
know of it though. It's got, like
Clint
Mickey
Eastwood.
Rourke and
No, no, no.
lady that.
Mickey Rourke might have been in it. Clint Eastwood was in it. He was a boxing coach,
Oh,
and oh god,
yeah, yeah,
Hillary
yeah.
Hillary
My Hilary
Swank.
Swank.
So great movie, very sad ending. But there's a part in the movie where Hilary Swank, like, she comes from a very white trash family who really, like, they're kind of shitty people and they don't really care about her. She buys her mom and her extended family a house, and as soon as she gifts it to them, the first thing her mom does is gets mad at her because she's worried that because she gets a new house, they're going to take her benefits away. And, like, I think about that a lot because there are probably more than a few people who, like, that's just such a bizarre concept to me thinking about it. People who, like, knowingly turn away either higher paying jobs or just better situations because they're so used to getting this kind of government handout all the time that, like, the idea of not having it, you get $2,000 a month in food stamps. So that equates to like $24,000 a year essentially in aid for food. You go from making, I don't know, you're a fucking cashier at Dollar General, so you pull down 20-ish a year. Let's say you somehow managed to get a great job, and now you're working in sales somewhere, and with your commission, you're making like $65,000 a year. So if you add up the money from your old job and those benefits, you're still getting like 20 grand on top of that in like extra money you didn't have before. But there are people who will go, oh no, I can't lose those benefits. So they keep themselves in this like lower level of existence.
Well, in a rational sense, it's also the opportunity cost of like
Mm-hmm.
going from being a part-time cashier to a full-time whatever,
Yeah.
like learn some, you get a job at the Jiffy Lube or whatever, and you're full-time
Mm-hmm.
doing oil changes, you get a lot more money. Like, like the opportunity cost is like, oh, I'm not only I'm working double in a week, and I am only make like their opportunity cost is I'm really actually only making like a few $100 extra
Mm-hmm.
to work that, extra 20 hours a week. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think that's worth it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it's actually a little bit rational at a certain
Mm-hmm.
point. I mean, they don't sit down and do the math like long term to see how it pans out, but um no, I mean there's a total cliff that
Yeah.
like I mean, the same thing's true of like the ACA subsidies. Like it used to be like, okay, you do an actuarial calculation, like you had a family of six, like the chance that all six of you are going to need like catastrophic like cancer care that costs $1 million each is almost zero at the
Mm-hmm.
same like simultaneously, right? But like ACA individually prices each person instead of treating a family as a pool. So like you end up with a family of six, they have a $3,600 premium
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, they could treat you as your own pool. And it's like, well, if I'm paying $3,600 a month in just premiums, not even my deductible, like, sorry, I'll just like pay cash for everything from now
Yeah.
on. Like, why am like I can put $3,600 in the bank and just have a grow at 8% in the stock market or 4% on a
Could you
savings and
imagine that? Just like obviously it could be any number, but like let's say it is $3,600. Like putting away $3,600 a month instead of spending it on health insurance premiums, that adds up pretty fucking fast. Like even if you
oh
don't invest it, like just put it into savings. That's a really decent emergency fund that most people would not. Like unfortunately, yeah, most people live paycheck to paycheck and don't have savings. Like I wonder what that count is now these days. Like how many people are just like tapped for savings? They can't cover like 3 months of necessities. It's
oh
probably
it's like
it's
over half of people,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, so Saint Luck actually kind of mentioned something what you were talking about before, where it's also possible that getting that job wouldn't be enough to support you, but too much for the benefits. Which,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I was
that's
saying. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
oh man,
So it's rough out there.
yeah.
I think that there's most people make rational choices about this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or because yeah, it's not just like, oh, I would make more money working. It's like, the classic case of like, oh, my wife works, or daycare costs like $2,000 a month, and my wife only makes 3,000. So
Yeah.
in reality, if she's working full-time job, she's only working like, like $5 an hour
Hmm.
to have strangers raise your kids, right? You're like, okay, let's do some math about this and consider the cost benefits and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's hard to like do all those calculations because there's not everything has like a direct dollar value, which is why trades can happen. People value things differently.
Hmm.
For some
What
people
are you
value their
saying? There's
time
like
more
a
than they value
system.
dollars.
There's a system where you can like. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. There's a trade that happens. I was like, oh yeah, we're like trading for things and goods and services. It's some sort of bartering system, perhaps, maybe where I don't know, people can like exchange goods and
Yeah.
services for money, or money for goods and services, or goods and services for goods and services. Maybe some sort of like transferring of capital around, kind of based around capital to a degree, like holding capital, trading capital, capital, some sort of ism. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll invent a word for that someday. Like,
Who can imagine?
who knows? Yeah.
Um, I just hope they're laid back when they do it.
Yep.
They
Hmm.
let things be.
Exactly.
They might even speak French about it.
They might,
Yeah.
which is a crime in and of itself.
So, um, yeah, I think it'd be interesting just to see um what the knock-on effects from like a purely economic experiment would be
Hmm.
about it. But like I'm surprised like we're getting to this point where nobody's flinched yet,
Yeah.
and it seems like they're really committed to like, hey, we don't have it, like, because it at this point it is the Dems that are not passing the budget, and
Pretty
there's like,
much.
you know what, we we think it's they did the calculation,
Hmm.
political calculation, saying, hey, we would prefer that there's a lot of unrest and potential violence,
Hmm.
and make the Republicans look really really bad,
Yeah.
and animate our people, because that's the main thing they lack right now is like energy
Hmm.
on the left. Like if you look at like the protests and stuff like that, like we were talking about the other week or two ago, it's
Yeah,
like,
it's
ooh,
just not like they're there, of course, but it's like a
it
very tired looking choreographed routine of. They actually did some research on the majority of people who attended were essentially left leaning women in like their 40s and 50s and 60s with college degrees, was like the vast majority of people at the protests, which is probably like a good chunk of the left these days. I would say adding to that like women in their 30s too on the left. That's going to be a bit more, bigger demographic, but people younger actually have to work for a living. Like unless like boomers and a lot of Gen X, they're not receiving subsidies hand over fist. So you're going to get.
oh yeah, do you want to talk about luxury boomer communism real quick?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. LBC.
uh what was I just saying about specifically Texas? Yeah, Texas voters are voting on a new measure to slash school taxes, property taxes for boomers, specifically people over the age of 65, by 50%. Um, so the homestead exemption will be for people 65 or older or with disabilities up to $110,000. That's an increase from 50,000. Um, so it's like, okay, and like we all hate property taxes, right? But you create a really perverse incentive when you have specifically like this guarantocratic class that got all the benefits of the socialism growing up, and gets all of the benefits of the socialism in old age, all of the free government healthcare, all of the free government social security money, all of the free you know just
Everything.
like it's literally like you turn 65 and you turn into like an inner party member in the United
Yeah.
States. And um,
Anybody over
the
65 is part of the Politburo. Let's put it that
and
way.
now you're tax exempt too, so you have like zero incentive. There's literally no cost except for maintenance, I guess, to maintain your home. And it's the reason why there's so many dilapidated houses sitting around
Mm,
in all these what used to be starter family neighborhoods, is
yeah.
because the boomers have nobody's actually getting them to move out. There's of all the taxes, I hate to say this as like the taxation and stuff libertarian, but of all the taxes, the most um, prone to creating a high value uses of land, which is a finite resource, unlike a lot of other forms of capital,
Mm,
is a property tax, so that people who just sit and speculate on land aren't that they have a cost to
mm,
doing that, as opposed to any other like capital cost has opportunity cost where like land's a little different. I know
mm.
it's kind of hard to explain, but um, the problem doesn't come from the fact that the boomers are getting property tax exemption. It's that only boomers are getting a
Yeah,
property tax
exactly,
exemption.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just yeah. I so a couple chooses to retire early on their 50s. Oh, we talked about this where they used to have a 127-year government pension, and they get 5,500 years in subsidies for their health insurance.
These
Um,
fucking people. Yes, I remember them. Oh,
yeah. So I found this phrase luxury what is it boomer
luxury.
luxury communism, boomer luxury communism.
Mm,
And yeah, that's basically our society right now.
yep.
We like people accuse America of being like this hyper capitalist, like aggressive state of like dog eats dog, uh, social Darwinism, and it's like no, we just live in like the boomers have voted themselves to be the inner communist party, and they get all of the luxury, and we are just the proles in the
We're
coal mine.
exactly, yeah. Chipping away.
So, um, what what other uh things that I saw about Snap was surprising that people were talking about. That's I think it was like overall Snap use, which like we have long discussed that America is in like a hidden depression,
Yeah.
probably since the 2000s, early 2000s, really.
Mm-hmm.
That and like Nvidia is basically just like this paper money shuffling thing
Oh
where
yeah,
like seven companies.
Nvidia, OpenAI, Microsoft, like they're all just kind of shuffling shit back and forth. It's like there's seven essentially companies. I don't know all of their names, but it's like, this doesn't look good.
Okay. So here's the stats I saw, which was federal food stamp spending in billions of dollars. 2010 through 2019 averaged between 60 and 80 billion dollars. All right.
Mm,
2020, we'd expect it to go up a little bit. A lot of people went on, like were totally unemployed, right? But it didn't recover back to 70 million dollars or 70 billion, sorry, 70 billion dollars.
mm,
Went down to 120 billion dollars per year
hmm.
is what we're still at right now. So we're up $50 billion from what the average was just 5 years ago. Now, part of that's inflation. Maybe we could say 40%, cumulative inflation in the last 5 years, which is insane, but that's what it actually probably is closer to.
Yeah.
Um, but I would probably posit that there's some other forces at work to produce a number that big, because the government's
Yeah.
really reluctant to adjust like Social Security or Medicare or SNAP spending for inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're real, they say the CPI numbers are closer to 25%, not 40%. So it's really interesting. Like, oh, this is the one thing they do, like correctly adjust for inflation. I think there's something else going on, which is like more people are using it or something.
Maybe. What else happens?
There's
Since
that giant hurricane.
giant hurricanes currently slapping Jamaica right now, yeah, that's actually like obviously vet who you donate to. But if you
Yeah,
also want to like donate to help people in Jamaica right now, that's probably a good idea.
dude,
Um,
I haven't even seen like like normally we get kind of footage the day after or whatever because it made landfall yesterday, right?
yeah.
Um, where we get a little more real like info on what's going on the ground like a day or two out, and I just like don't know. I haven't seen like a flyover or anything like that. Maybe it's because it's like still totally
It's still
clocked
hitting,
in.
but I do remember too, like this. This is kind of also what happened immediately after Katrina hit New Orleans. Like people were waiting for like updates on like how bad it was, and there was definitely like a delay. Like there wasn't a whole lot of information coming out, and then the storm passed, and there was a brief second where it was like, oh, maybe it's not so bad. And then no, actually, it's one of the worst things that's ever happened to the country. Like one of the worst natural disasters that has ever hit, like hitting a major population center like New Orleans. And Jamaica is not, I would say, does not have the infrastructure that even New Orleans has. Like
No.
it's got, its resorts and shit like that, but otherwise it's a pretty poor country with a lot of problems. So yeah, also given it's a pretty small island that does not have much elevation. It's like the last place I'd want to be, and that shit literally just went right over it.
Yep.
It was ugh.
Yeah, I think I mean it's like it didn't directly hit Kingston,
It did,
but
yeah.
oh, it did.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was watching some webcams from like the outside of like Kingston Bay or like the bay outside of Kingston. I don't know if it's actually Kingston Bay, and you could see the choppy water and shit. And then since then, like I haven't seen. Let me see if there's anything on YouTube, but like I haven't seen anything, which concerns me more than if. Hang on, let's see.
no, that's the thing. Like I feel like normally on a little social media feed you'd see like helicopter footage by now where
Something, yeah, but no, like everything I'm finding right now is not live. Everything is streamed at least a day ago, at least from Jamaica itself. Like it's 12 hours ago. This is oh, this is live. Hang on. I suppose that showing a
bring that
YouTube
up, Jamie.
bring that up. I suppose showing a YouTube video on YouTube isn't going to get us a copyright strike. So
Yeah,
let's,
as long as we're commenting on it.
of course, yeah, which we are, of course. Here we go. All right, here it is.
It's a live. Oh, this is like a camera
Oh
live
yeah,
cam.
Jamaica's busiest transport center. So this is in Kingston, Jamaica. This is the Halfway Tree Transport Center and Historic Clock Tower. And I mean, there's water on the road and shit, but this looks pretty not that bad.
People are driving and there's power.
Yeah, there's power.
Um,
That's a big thing. Which, if this is like the direct center of an urban center, it's one of the places it's probably going to be okay. Um,
because I kind of thought from a topo map that like there were some higher points, and this is gonna sound really stupid of me, but I'm honestly thinking of the first Pirates of the Caribbean, where like they go into Port Royal and it's like built into like that cove on the hill,
the
and I don't
mountainside,
know if
yeah.
that's actually what Jamaica looks like, but I want to
Jamaica
believe that's what Jamaica
is a
looks like.
pirate's cove. You know what? I'm integrating this belief. All right, let me see if I can find any others because this is just a traffic camera now. This is not much of anything. Let's see. Montego Bay. That sounds more like it
Yeah, I wonder
looks
if that,
like. Oh, it's still a little windy here. This looks a little rougher. Let's go with this. This is not live. Okay, just kidding. Um,
I'm trying to find the high point.
yeah. I'll find the high point for you right now. Hang on.
Uh,
Let's see. Is this live? It says live, but it's also daytime in this video, so no, that's not it.
highest
No.
point in Jamaica is 7,402 feet.
Okay, not bad. From what I can tell, looks like the storm's over. Like I
Okay.
might be wrong. Let's pull up some Doppler or some shit. Hang on. Hang on.
It's like you were saying though, like there's nice, touristy parts of Jamaica, and then there's like parts with like not a lot of infrastructure compared to that. Like,
Yeah,
and
like they're
it's
like
gonna
yeah.
take a while for anybody to get like people to go clear it and like go through and be like, oh, maybe there's like a village. Like, I'm betting it's gonna be not just hundreds of dead. It's gonna be a lot more than that.
Probably thousands, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's already past Jamaica. Like it's north of Cuba and heading northeast away from Florida at the moment. Kind of grazing the Bahamas. Um yeah, so Jamaica's good right now. It's over. Like not necessarily we're gonna temper that, there are parts that are probably got some issues, but the hurricane is no longer actively hitting Jamaica. So
Yeah. Yeah.
seems okay.
Well,
Oh,
yeah. I mean, they're gonna have to get some recovery going.
for sure.
So, what else was new? We talked ATC. We talked snaps.
We
We
talked
talked.
hurricane. We invented a brilliant new economic system centered around capital and the free exchange of goods and services, which I'll have to come back to later. Um,
Put a bookmark on that. We'll circle
put a
back.
bookmark on that. I watched so on Netflix and I guess in theaters. This new movie came out. It's called A House of Dynamite. You heard of this?
What? Say that again. What?
It's called A House
Dynamite?
of Dynamite.
Uh-huh. It's what is it?
So it's about it's really like a commentary on living in an age of nuclear weapons and how like one launch can all of a sudden mean everybody's missiles are getting launched and the end of the world and all of this. But it takes place over a 20-minute period, but it's told from like three different perspectives, so it's like the same 20 minutes three times. And
Uh-huh.
essentially it starts with like there's this lady and it's played by oh god, Jessica Chastain, I think is her name.
I thought it was
Um,
Rebecca Ferguson.
Rebecca
No,
Ferguson. Sorry,
I
yeah.
considered.
No,
Sorry, I
I
just
got
didn't
no, no,
realize
no.
we're talking about a movie.
No, you're good. You're correct though. It's Rebecca Ferguson who I just changed their names around, but yeah, Paul Atreides' mom essentially.
Mhm.
And she's essentially the individual who runs the White House Situation Room. And they go into the Situation Room and they get like a live feed from like Stratcom and all these other things. And Stratcom is like, "Hey, we're tracking a missile launch from the Southeast Pacific, currently heading in this direction." And they're just like, "Oh, it's probably a test. North Korea's running a test. They're trying to saber rattle and all of this." And nobody's really worried. It's just another day at the office. And then Stratcom comes in. We're tracking this on three separate radars right now, and all our telemetry supports impact somewhere in the continental United States. And everyone's like, "What? Really?" No, no, that's and as time goes on, like they're just like, "Yeah, we're still tracking this. It's pretty steady. We've got it on video. It's gonna hit somewhere like Washington D.C. or Chicago or New York City or something like that. We're not sure yet, but we're pretty sure it's going to hit somewhere around there." And then like you realize like people like the panic starts to set in because all of a sudden they start activating COG protocols like continuation of government, and nobody's taking it seriously. They just think it's a drill. Like they're getting the senators and the House and like all certain people like into safe places, and they're just like, "This is ridiculous. I have a golf game. I want to watch the football game later." And they're like, "No, you need to do this right now. If you don't come do this, we're actually authorized to physically escort you to a safe place." So they go and like people are getting saved and other people are not getting saved, and some people are just like, "Oh my god, why is this happening?" And then there's also I think it's either in like probably like Alaska would make the most sense, but it's a GBI base, so it's where they house ground-based interceptors that use
Mhm.
extra orbital kill vehicles, they call them, which are like these just things designed to destroy nuclear weapons that are in flight without essentially detonating them. And they launch these two GBIs, and I am going to spoil this a little bit. They launch two GBIs at the missile, and everyone's just like, "Whatever it is, it'll take it down. It's fine. It's fine." GBI 1 fails, like the EKV doesn't separate from the rocket, and the second one misses. And everyone is just like, "Okay, now what?" And then they do a little bit more math, and they're like, "We have determined with 99% probability the missile is going to strike directly on Chicago, Illinois." and they're trying to calculate like what kind of like megaton or kiloton blast it's going to be. They start calculating death percentages. The cog protocols really kick into gear, and it gets really scary because like there are characters in the show that are just like central to like the plot and driving it, and all of a sudden they just get taken away and they're not there anymore. And like, so first, like I said, first 20 minutes, right before the missile is supposed to hit, it switches point perspectives, and it goes to actually at Stratcom. So there's like a 4-star general who's in charge of Stratcom and his staff, and it's like the big circular table, kind of looks like the NASA control center, but it's not. And they're tracking this thing, and they're going over their own things, and then they start activating continuation of government. And then they start the snap count, which is basically what happens when the United States decides that it is under attack and is going to launch nuclear retaliation against one or multiple countries that may or may not be attacking them. And everyone is like freaking out, but they're pulling out all the documentation and all of this, and they're going over like the snap codes, like the president or the vice president or the secretary of defense are supposed to give in order to initiate a nuclear strike. And they're, but what about this? Why are we doing this? We got to do this. And like, oh, Idris Elba plays the president. He does a really good job.
Yeah.
And then the final 20-minute from the 20 minutes.
He is surprisingly good at doing a American accent.
He is. He really is.
To the point, a lot of people don't realize that he's not American.
He's Australian, I think, is he? Or Irish or something? Ireland?
I thought he's British.
British. Okay, maybe he's British. I don't know. Not American.
Like grew up in Britain, but yeah.
But so then it's from his perspective, and he's literally like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, all this is going on. Like, he doesn't really want to do, and it just gets more real and real and real and real. And eventually they introduce this other character, and it's some dude either from the Navy or the Air Force, and he's just sitting there in the room next to the Oval Office, and he's got this black briefcase in front of him on the floor, and he's not moving. And he does not react. Oh, and there's a couple other scenes too. There's a scene briefly where they show like 2 B-2 pilots, and they're like in the B-2 and they're receiving like their continuation orders of like what they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to do afterwards. And they're looking at it and they're just like, this can't be real. This cannot be real. This is not happening right now. And they're like, well, this is what they're telling us to do. So, and when like the president's looking all around,
you're telling me it's like a very seriously played like modern version of Dr. Strangelove.
It is, but it's not funny at all. It's actually like the entire time I'm watching this, I'm just like
serious version of.
I'm just like, oh my god, this is fucking terrifying. Like this like it just feels so realistic. Like I'm sure certain things are changed, but okay. So the final scene, and this dude, he's got the briefcase. And then he's with the president on, it's not Air Force One, it's like some smaller aircraft they just throw him onto. Oh, I think it's a Marine One. Actually, it's the chopper.
Yeah.
So they're in the chopper, and he's heading for a safe zone. And the president like pulls out this little card he carries with him, and he gives his code to authorize, like essentially, okay, our nuclear systems are ready to go. Missiles are primed. We're deciding what to do. They're on the phone with the Russians, and the Russians like, we swear it's not us. Please don't nuke us. We're not nuking you. Can you please promise you're not going to retaliate against us? And they're like, well, it depends. We still don't know where the missile came from. And they're like, all right, listen, you can do what you need to do, but please just guarantee like you're not going to fly bombers over us or fire missiles over us. And they're like, listen, we can't, like, there's going to be some flyover. And the Russians are like, so we're just supposed to sit there and let your missiles fly over us and trust that they're not going to strike our cities. We're not going to do that. And then you have, like, they're trying to figure it out, and they think what the idea that gets floated is the North Koreans develop a method, like they build a nuclear submarine that actually has the ability to make launches while submerged. And they launch this missile because apparently the famine and starvation and aid they've been receiving for it isn't enough. And the idea is that they are going to launch a missile and nuke the United States and essentially go, we'll stop if you give us money, if you help us more, give us more aid, essentially. And there's this line about, like, that's essentially suicide by nuclear cop, which I thought was kind of funny a little bit. And, so the guy, oh my God, he plays the lead scientist in Chernobyl. I think his last name is Harris. I don't remember the name, his full name exactly. That actor, though. He plays the Secretary of Defense, and it's funny because they're talking about nuclear fallout, and then they're talking about the extra orbital kill vehicles, and the guy is like, all right, so his character is like, how effective are these? How can we rely on this? And the other guy he's talking to goes, honestly, sir, they have a success rate of 61%. And he goes, 61%? Our lives are being based on a coin toss? And it's just like, this is like Chernobyl. Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, look at this. Wow. Man, you just can't escape this role. And there's something else he does in there that he also does in Chernobyl. Like, I won't spoil that part, but oh god. So yeah, and the Russians are like, okay, so then the president, and then okay, that's what I was talking about. There's the dude essentially with the briefcase. Now, it's not the football, which is like the remote operation thing, but it's the nuclear strike response handbook. And essentially, he pulls it out and he goes, "This is." You kind of see like various maps and like these big red dots all over the maps, depending on what country they're talking about. It's just like based on what you want to do, you can order specific strike patterns. And the president literally, he's freaking out about this. And he's like, honestly, man, what's your opinion on this? What should I do? And the dude's like, I'm not authorized to give that. He's like, bro, the world might be about to end. You and I are the only people in this part of the aircraft. What are you thinking right now? And the guy makes the joke. He's like, yeah, I'm macabre. I make these jokes that it's like rare, medium rare, and well done for like the degree of strikes they have. And the guy's like, oh, okay. And he's like, honestly, sir, launch and strike them all. Take them all out and don't leave any chance. And the president's just like, okay. And then, so you have these three different perspectives over 20 minutes, and these people are just freaking out because it's the worst case scenario. And as the movie ends and the timer to impact reaches 1, the movie stops. And it goes to black. And the very last scene is a few people running into Raven Rock, which is like the continuation of Governance Bunker. And it's kind of suggested.
Aren't they renovating like the White House East Wing bunker right now
For this specific thing? Maybe, who knows? But maybe. There is an implication that like nuclear war is happening based on how everyone's freaking out running to the bunker. But the movie deliberately does not show you what happens. There's belief maybe the warhead simply won't detonate and the missile will just splash down and not really cause any damage, or it's not really a missile, or it's not going to go off. And like there's this conversation. It's like, what you're telling me is you want me to wait and see if a city gets nuked to determine whether or not we're going to respond. And people are kind of like, yeah, maybe. And then the one part is like, if I could guarantee that the loss of 10 million people would be the last of it and there would be no nuclear war, then I would be okay with that. However, I can't guarantee that, so I'm not okay with that. And he recommends like starting nuclear Armageddon essentially. But they never actually show you what happens. You don't see whether or not Chicago survives. You don't know whether or not the president nukes everyone or if they just nuke North Korea. The movie just ends and the credits roll and it's like, isn't this intellectually stimulating? This is the world we live in. Doesn't this want to make you start a conversation and talk about the movie? Which I'm doing right now because honestly, I get why they went with that ending. It's also it's like, oh, remember The Sopranos when it went to black? It really pissed me off. The movie was really great up until that, and I'm not saying that ending wasn't a good ending. Because a good ending can piss you off.
Yeah.
But after telling the same story 3 different times over the course of 20 minutes, and you don't get any payoff. You don't get to know what happens. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, man, that was an hour and a half and there's no resolution. It's like, fuck. Yeah, I'm going to think about this for a long time. Fuck you, man. Like...
Well, so I will say, just from my background in being in physics and stuff like that, and having studied with the guy who helped invent the hydrogen bomb, the thing about a lot of the U.S. countermeasures for ICBMs is that they're basically vaporware.
It's Star Wars, bro.
They fucking sold this shit to the Defense Department, to Reagan when he was senile, and or just basically people who don't really understand what's going on with orbital mechanics and how all this stuff works. The like only conceivable thing that I would encourage the government to actually work on to make this stuff happen is we need direct energy weapons in orbit,
Yeah.
um, and to zap them because the like a missile to missile, um, intervention is
It's like
not going to happen.
they
It's
they
just
talk about it in the movie. It's essentially it's like trying to hit a bullet with a bullet. Like,
it's not going to happen.
yeah.
And the the idea that they sold, well, so what they really actually do for the Star Wars is they have what is a neutron bomb payload that
Hmm.
essentially would disable the other missile if it was in range,
Hmm.
um, and it all worked correctly. But the thing is, like all this stuff sits around for
Gears.
decades, basically,
Exactly.
and how often they've never done a practical live fire test because that would violate every arms
Treaty we
treaty that's
have.
ever
Yeah.
existed, and would obviously massively concern any other nation.
Hmm.
It's like where do we even test a neutron bomb on the fucking uh like in above Earth that like
New
people won't
Mexico.
it won't it won't hurt stuff.
New
Well, I'm
Mexico.
saying even in space, like
Oh,
we would disable so many satellites, we would disable um all this stuff. What I did
so
like was this proposal that we should once every like 10 years just do a small nuclear bomb that has been tailored to have minimal fallout
mhm,
out, so like we can alternate somewhere in Nevada, somewhere in Siberia,
mhm,
take all the world's leaders for a live fire demonstration
mhm.
and show them an actual
What this
test,
does, yeah,
and it will guarantee that they will never use these things.
yeah.
And we really need to do disarmament and everything like that. And it's one of the better things that um, they we had going for us up
Mhm.
until the Ukraine war was that there was caps on all this kind of weaponry and
Yeah,
stuff like
and there
that.
was also like we've also been fucking with the balance of MAD a little bit by helping Ukraine go after Russia's strategic bombers and whatnot. But that's another can of worms that I'm sure will not come back to haunt us.
Well, yeah, it like what people aren't realizing about all this crap is with Ukraine, and it is what we've been constantly saying, um, as like we need to defuse the Ukraine war as quickly as possible. And I know it's like, oh, he's just holding us hostage with his nuclear arsenal. I'm like, this all goes back to the nuclear arsenal. Like
Yeah,
they can't have U.S. interceptor missiles directly next to their border, like less than 100 miles from their capital city.
like of course
Like
they're
that,
not going to be okay with that. We weren't cool that when it was in
yeah,
fucking Cuba. Like,
it's not happening. Like that's what this all is about. Like it's like, and maybe this movie, like if people can have the conversation that like put the shoe on
like
the other foot for
yeah.
Russia. This is why the Ukraine war is happening right now. Like,
Unfortunately, like I wish it would be that like nuanced and create that kind of conversation. It might if people take it that way, but like in general, it will definitely be like, hey, why are we not disarming more? Can we go back to this? Like we need less nukes. But they do talk about at the very beginning of the movie. They're like, at the end of the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union had thousands of nuclear missiles, and they came to an agreement and basically decided that we should have less nuclear missiles. And right before the rest of the movie starts, it just goes, that era is over. And then the movie starts, and it's just like, okay, yeah, this is like, again, for the point of starting a conversation about the House of Dynamite that we live in, sure, the movie is brilliant, actually, in my opinion, that way. However, in terms of a movie that's actually satisfying to watch and would make me want to watch it again, I can't, like, I might watch it with somebody else at some point in the future just to get their reaction from it, but outside of that, I will
yeah,
probably not watch it again,
yeah.
right?
No, I mean it in some respects it's good filmmaking because it lets you imagine whatever thing you most dislike happening
Exactly,
is
yeah.
like what they let you do, which I think is actually kind of it's like what was that Brad Pitt Morgan Freeman movie like Seven
Oh,
or
seven,
something like
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Just let you imagine whatever the worst thing you
Yeah.
could imagine it would be.
Or again,
And
you have The Sopranos, the end of Sopranos, where it cuts to black at the last second, and you don't really know what happens. Like, it's strongly implied Tony gets whacked. There's a
yeah,
possibility that's not what happens, but yeah, like it's the same thing. It's going to create a conversation. You remember that happening, right, buddy?
so yeah, it's I would be curious to perhaps watch it, but it's one of those things like I can't get uh my girlfriend to still watch like Chernobyl, even though I really want her to watch it.
Yeah,
Because she's just like deathly afraid of radiation and stuff like that. I did get her to watch Fallout because it's a little more whimsical,
yeah.
but
Like, there's no
this is
actual
it sounds
radiation
very
or
non-whimsical.
there's no radiation or like actual like radioactive exposure in this. It's literally like the first third of it is you're in the White House Situation Room. The second third of it is you're at Stratcom. The third of it is you're with the president in the Oval Office and then on Marine One, essentially. And it's just like the same thing happening from different perspectives and how different people are dealing with it. And the one interesting I'll say is like there's like an overall narrative and conversation all of the characters are having, and you do get to see the same conversation and narrative and the entire plot unfold from three different perspectives, who each have their own like interpretation and kind of expectation of what's happening. So that again, that's very interesting. It's a very intellectual movie for better or for worse. She might like it. Like it's really
It sounds like from it's like a conversation thriller,
yeah,
like
kind of.
uh essentially like I mean there's no major action scenes, I'm assuming, like
No,
there's no fighting, there's
nope.
no like I mean there's like sitting on a
The most
bomber jet,
exciting
like
thing
looking
is
at
like
stuff
yeah,
in a
like you see the
heads-up
cockpit of
display.
the B-2, and you also see the missile base when they launch the ground-based interceptors. The rockets go up in the air, but most of it, no, it's very just it's like everyday people, like their perspective of it, essentially, and then like people higher up in the government or whatever. So no, like there's no fighting, there's no death, there's no radiation poisoning, there's no caskets being lowered into the ground and covered with lead, nothing like that. So in concrete.
Um, well, oh, did you see that Brazil is having like a major drug war? Like the favelas are like
I did,
on fire, machine guns
which
everywhere.
I
Like,
think is actually just fake news, and it's a promotional stunt promoting the new Call of Duty and Battlefield 6 that's coming out. Personally,
you mean the old Call of Duty?
the old Call of Duty they're re-releasing again. Yes. Ow.
Me and Soap running through the favelas trying to track down the arms dealer.
Exactly. I would just like to film myself being bitten and attacked right now by this monster in my lap. He is tired of me being on the podcast, and he's chewing my hand. Why are you doing
Well,
this?
on that note, we can retire then.
We can, I guess, if this little stochastic terrorist is just going to keep attacking me, I guess we're going to have to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us on episode 100 and 91 of the podcast. Look at this. He's eating me. You were fed and you got snacks and you get everything you want and still you attack me. Well, you are black. Thank you again. Thank you again,
Get all
folks.
the way there.
Of course I'm going to go all the way, man. This is the Alter podcast, not the fucking Joe Rogan show. We full send here. No offense, Joe. Yeah, thank you for joining us. We'll be here same time next week, episode 192. And my math is coming again. Like, we're going to have episode 200 probably right around like Christmas or New Year's, right around there. So we'll have to do something fun for that. I'll think about that. Max, you come up with some stuff if you'd like. We'll consult Matt. Maybe his family will allow him to come spend some time with us instead of rigorously training them for Ancapistan. But
I think it's all the more important in this holiday season to
yeah,
prepare your child army.
exactly. Your child army to defend yourself when you're grocery shopping. I think in that video, it floats around. It's like this dude, this dad, and like his 3 or 4 daughters, and his 3 or 4 daughters all have little fake guns, and they form like a security team around him as he's like walking somewhere, and he's like, "Thank you, girls. I feel so safe," and it's so funny. But the little girls are like, huh, 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 like with these little like plastic toy guns, and it's
They're all
just like,
standing with like open jackets and just one hand inside.
yeah, exactly, like
All
the
time.
Secret Service, like they have a fake hand hanging down one sleeve because the other one's
Yeah,
gripping an
yeah,
Uzi. Yeah, all right, guys, we'll just keep segueing. We'll be here forever. Again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you same time next week. And as always, everyone, taxation is theft.